Hi guys! In last weekend's video we finished laying up glass on the new deck here aboard Athena. I was of course very eager to see how the new deck turned out, so a few days later I returned and took the first careful steps on the new deck. The deck seemed solid, so I went ahead and removed the peel ply from the new laminate. I ran out of peel ply last weekend, so there were some areas that didn't get peel ply, but we'll get back to those a little later in this video. When the slippery peel ply was removed, I felt much more comfortable moving around on deck, and I'm pleased to say that the new deck feels solid. Absolutely rock solid. Of course, the reinforcement below the deck in the forward cabin was still in place, so I quickly removed that. And this was when it finally hit me that the new deck is done. All that's left now is cosmetic stuff, meaning to fair the deck and paint it. Now, fairing the deck is no small task, it'll take weeks, but at least the deck seems to be structurally sound. I decided to hurry up and remove the excess glass from the hatch openings. Those loose glass fibers are like needles, and I figured the sooner I got rid of them, the better. I used a flush trimming bit and my router to remove the excess glass and round over the corners. The end result is close to perfect, but not quite there. There's still a little bit of cleanup to be done, but that is something I can easily take care of over the winter. And that pretty much brings you guys up to speed. On my to-do list today is to get rid of the amine blush that has formed up on deck on the areas where I didn't have enough peel ply. I'm crossing my fingers that I'll be able to get the deck faired, get the primer on there, and at least the first coat of top coat before I leave to see my girlfriend in 23 days. That is gonna be an obscene amount of work, so I better go ahead and get started. Here is an area of the deck where I didn't get peel ply on the new laminate, and here is one that did get peel ply. This area over here has kind of a waxy film on top of it, and that is amine blush, which is formed when some epoxies cure. Now, it's important to get rid of the amine blush before I start applying fairing compound to the deck, as the fairing compound won't get a good bond before the blush has been removed and the surface has been sanded. Any blush that formed on the area that did get peel ply formed on top of the peel ply and was removed along with the peel ply. So the only areas I need to clean are the areas that didn't get peel ply. Depending on who you trust when you read stuff on the interwebs about removing amine blush, it's either not a big deal or the devil. Now, up until now, I've only removed blush from small areas, so I might very well have changed my mind by the end of the day, but I'm gonna go ahead and try the same process I would for a smaller area, and that means hot water and some kind of abrasive. So I've got a bucket with scalding hot water that will cool down quickly. I've got a bucket with clean water for wiping. I've got an abrasive. I've even got a scrubbing brush thingy here I want to try out, and some clean rags. Okay, I think I've got everything up here now, so let's go ahead and give this a go. I've successfully removed all of the blush. I've also successfully soaked the entire deck and myself in water. So I think I'm just gonna give both of us a chance to dry off before I start sanding. So yeah, the sanding is postponed until tomorrow. I didn't find it difficult to remove the blush. It was pretty easy even on a large area like this, and I can clearly feel that the waxy film that was there before is now gone. Now, to be honest, I would rather have applied peel ply and not have to do this, but yeah, we ran out of peel ply and cleaning up a bit of blush, not a big deal. And just like that, it's the next day. The deck should be nice and dry now, so let's get busy sanding. I've noticed a few comments asking about the need for sanding on the last few videos, and just to be absolutely clear, and hopefully for the last time, there are two types of little defects that require sanding here on the deck. The first type is something like this, or this right here, or down here. Those are areas where we had a little bit of air trapped in between the peel ply and the laminate. So not within the laminate, but just between the top of the laminate and the peel ply. On an area like this, I want to smooth over the hard edges here and rough up the surface here inside this little indentation so that the fairing compound gets a good bond to the laminate. The other type of defect that requires a little bit of sanding is an area like this, and I don't think the camera is going to pick it up, but this is an area where we've butted up two layers of fiberglass against each other and accidentally gotten a little bit of overlap. So that means the surface here is raised just a tiny bit. We could have almost eliminated the need for sanding if we had just been more careful or more experienced. But like I've said numerous times, we're just a bunch of DIY guys. So yeah, sometimes you gotta do a bit of sanding. Good morning, guys. It is Saturday morning. There's a storm raging outside, and I don't know if the mic is going to pick up any of that, but I apologize if there are any weird sounds. The only thing that's better than sanding fiberglass is sanding fiberglass for multiple days. I say that because I didn't finish sanding yesterday, so let's get back to sanding. Last night I was just about to get started on the side decks, but it got too dark, so I had to call it quits. The foredeck is pretty much done with the exception of the detail sanding around the hatches. It's about 4 hours later and I am almost done sanding the entire starboard side of the deck. As you might be able to see here on the starboard side, I've trimmed the excess fiberglass that was hanging out over the deck hull joint. And I could do with a small break from sanding, so I think I'll go ahead and do the same on the port side. It's the stuff that's right here I want to remove. I figured the best tool for the job is my much beloved Bosch GOP 300 oscillating multi-tool. I used this on the starboard side and it made short work of removing that excess fiberglass. I already had one of these more affordable attachments on the tool, so that was what I used, but as you can see, the teeth are not doing all that well after having chewed through all of that fiberglass. On the port side, I'm going to switch out that cheaper attachment for this, which is kind of expensive. It's around $40, $45, but I've used a few of these and they are well worth the money. I think I still owe you guys an update on the fine Multimaster 350 I sent back to the webshop where I purchased it. But why don't we get that out of the way right now, because I seem to have ordered the wrong kind of attachment. This is a Starlog Plus attachment, whereas this is just a Starlog attachment, and my GOP 300 only uses Starlog, not Starlog Plus. Just in case you're curious, the difference between the two are these holes along the perimeter here, and also the pattern here in the center hole. And again, this one over here is the Starlog Plus one. Here is the fine Multimaster 350 I purchased when I had to get the Bosch GOP 300 serviced. As most of you know, this thing broke after I'd used it for barely a day. So here's the brand new fine Multimaster 350 the web shop that I purchased this from sent me as a replacement. I will do a more thorough comparison of these two tools in a later video, but suffice it to say for now that I am very much leaning towards the Bosch, and if it wasn't for the fact that I had accidentally ordered the wrong type of attachment here, then the fine tool would not have seen the light of day for years and years to come. Of course, it would have been much easier to trim that while we were laying up fiberglass. Definitely a lesson learned for the next time I decide to replace the entire deck aboard a sailboat. Oh, and don't worry about the fact that the deck hull joint looks kind of wavy and jagged. All of that is going to get hidden by the tow rail. I'm not much of a procrastinator, but I've just realized that this is the last bit of excess fiberglass I need to trim, and if I go ahead and do that now, that means I won't have to do sanding for at least half an hour, so let's go ahead and do that. This is just to remove the bulk of the excess. I'll come back and sand this flush with the cabin top. Ta-da! Done removing excess fiberglass on the port side. Now there's no putting it off anymore. Back to sanding. I promise that is gonna be the last bit of sanding in this video. Anywho, it's Sunday morning and I want to show you something cool in the trunk of my car. What I want to show you is not this humongous container of 407, although that will come in very useful a little later today. What I want to show you is this mysterious black box of awesomeness over here. PYI reached out to me and asked if I'd be interested in using Kiwi Grip on the deck for non-skid. And that is what this is. It's all the Kiwi Grip I'll need for the entire deck. I hate to leave you guys with a cliffhanger, but I'm not going to open this box in this video. I'll hold off on doing that until next weekend. That way I should also have the primer and the paint I'll use up on deck, and I can sort of make that video about painting and non-skid and all of that, instead of just having it be me sanding for another 20 minutes. Before we head back into the darkness, I just want to take a second and show you the elevated water level. That seems to happen every time we have a bit of wind here in Skive. And it is pretty dang annoying. Like I've mentioned in some of my previous videos, Kiwi Grip was on the short list of products I was considering for non-skid up on the deck. So of course when PYI reached out, I jumped at the opportunity. I've never tried using Kiwi Grip before, but I am very much looking forward to sharing my experience with all of you. Now let's head up and take a closer look at the deck. Overall, I am happy with the shape of the deck, but there are a few things I would like to correct. But I don't have any experience doing this, so I don't know if it's going to be possible or how difficult it's going to be. By the overall shape of the deck, I mean the cross section of the area here. because even though if you look at the cross section, there's actually a little bit of a difference to the curve over here and the curve over here. But I don't think that's going to be noticeable to anyone, maybe not even me, but there is a little bit of an issue right here. There's a little bit of a low spot here. I noticed that on the original deck, and it's there in the bottom skin, so that's why I know it was there. And it's around, well, 7 millimeters. Go like this, it's 1 centimeter. The low spot is isolated to this little area here, and luckily it sort of tapers out towards the edge of the deck here, so at least I won't have to deal with that. That makes the little low spot area here roughly 60 by 60 centimeters and 1 centimeter at its lowest point. I don't know what to do about this, but if you've got any kind of experience dealing with something like this, then go ahead and leave your suggestion as a comment down below, because I don't think you can just fill this entire area with 407. The other issue I'd like to fix here on the deck that I'd also very much like suggestions on how to deal with is this edge here. As you might be able to see on camera, there is just a slight hint of a waviness to this, and the radius is just also, there's a slight variation there. But yeah, do you guys think this is something I can correct? I realize it may sound a little like I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing here, and that's because I basically don't. I've never tried fairing a deck before, so of course there are some questions, but that's okay. I can certainly go ahead and take care of all of the smaller low spots and all of the pinholes, because like I mentioned, the overall shape of the deck is fine by me. While I've been yammering on, the epoxy has been heating up here inside my little box. I've already got a bunch of tools ready, and I took care of all the prep work on the surface last night. So let's get started. Even though I've never faired a deck before, I would like to point out that I have done my due diligence. I'm using an appropriate product, or well, at least I called West System, and they recommended that I stick with 407 for the deck rather than just 410 because of, well, all the foot traffic, I guess. I'm not going to lie, I do miss my epoxy mixing crew right about now. I've decided to splurge and go with these plastic containers instead of the plastic cups I've been using up until now, because mixing the 407 gets kind of hard on your hands. Ah, the adventure of a new container of filler. Where's that dang little blue spoon? Ta-da! Backup spoon. I guess that's one of the upsides to using a pre-mixed fairing compound. You don't have to deal with all of the dust. I think I can get away with a lot on the large flat surface of the deck, because that is going to get covered by Nunskit, which has a bit of a texture and it's not super glossy either. But I guess we'll find out. As you can see, things are chugging along. Now, I'm no expert at this stuff, but to me, this looks pretty good. So far, so good. I'm gonna keep working on this off camera, but sadly we've gotten to the point in the day where I need to stop shooting video if I want to publish this tonight. I will of course be back next weekend to give you guys a closer look at the deck. But before ending this video, there are a couple of things I want to mention. The first thing is the fact that Thomas from 2 Aboard Thule, that was here last weekend and lent a hand with laying up the last of the glass, has published a video from his trip up here, sort of a behind the scenes type thing. So if you guys want to check that out, there's a link for that in the description, and I'll also pop out one of those newfangled YouTube cards.
In last weekend's video, I mentioned a sound from the cabin top here, and I've also noticed that the cabin top has gone a little soft in this area over here. Now, I was pretty nervous, but for once, it turns out to be an easy fix. It's just the mahogany beam that's down below that's become loose. So yeah, that should be an easy fix and something I can take care of over the winter. For a few days, I was absolutely sure that I had somehow messed up something in the new deck, and that was why the cabin top was now soft. That was pretty nerve-wracking, but luckily it turned out to be just a stupid beam. Okay guys, I better get busy rendering this video, so that is going to be it for this weekend. As always, feel free to leave a comment down below, and don't forget, if you've enjoyed this video, remember to leave a like. See you!